Hey, what's happening? Sitting here in the hot tub, beautiful morning. Been t-shirt weather for days. The summit was awesome. The Vegas summit was like definitely one of the very best. I mean, that was so fun. You guys that were there, thank you. That was so awesome. Scotty P setting us up, dude. That was smooth and that was kind and that was great, and it paid off. The summit was absolute raging success. Looking back, it all makes sense, being on the strip, you know what I mean? We had two houses. Oh my God. We had so much, went to comedy shows for free. Scotty comped us in. Oh man. It was funny too, because they made fun of us. Like, it was hilarious. They chose our group to kind of like, the comedian was really good. And he chose our group to kind of like bounce off, and everybody did a great job. It was a bunch of classy guys dressed well, looking good in Vegas. If you look around, these days, my friend said this actually last night. He said, look at yourself. He goes, compare the way you look, the way you dress, and your fashion, just the way you present yourself compared to California guys. He goes, these guys have no competition for you. And it's funny for me because I left here so long ago that I don't even, my subconscious still thinks of me as the old me, right? And I looked around and I got to say, he was definitely right last night, and it was a poppin' night last night too. Concerts in the street, it was raging. And I thought, wow, it's crazy how you change over time. It's like the little changes you put in your life, that's what I try to teach, just little changes, one change this mindset, right? That will all naturally change a lot of other things, right? And then change this one action, change this, way of thinking about this other thing, right? And you put them all together and you got a great package, right? So I want to talk about, I've seen a lot of videos about women overseas, and it seems like the Passport Bros thing is really growing. And I just wanted to give somewhat of a update on what I think about this, because a lot of the information is great. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're awesome. It's great. It's the Passport Bros movement is just it's just like the time is right. It's so right. But I think what's missing often is depth of experience, and that only comes with time. So it's nothing, there's no criticism at all. But I can tell you from over 30, how many years now? 34 years, 35 years of being overseas. And I want to tell you even for you guys who've seen a lot of videos, like Passport Bros should all watch this one. I think you're going to be a little bit surprised by some of the maybe subtle differences, right? So what is that? I'll try to, it's a tough thing I'm trying to do. I'm trying to give you a whole top-down thing on everything, but I'll do my best. All right, so one thing is I just want to kind of say that there is a lot of vitriol online, and you kind of can expect this for the Passport Bro movement. And, for people that are thinking, thought it was interesting, thought, wow, I wonder if it is good overseas, right? I wonder what it's really like, right? That's what this video is for. I want to just give you an honest breakdown, as good as I can, right? As deep as I can, bringing together as many things as I can, right? So let's start with why people do it, okay? And kind of to break down the stigma in your own mind, right? For society can watch this too. Women can watch this. I think this is a great video for American women to watch too, because it will give you an understanding. Sometimes when you understand things, you don't like them, right? But that's different than not wanting to understand, right? You might, for example, let's say the stock market's going to crash. Then the news is not fun to listen to, right? Like somebody who's breaking down the financials and saying, hey, this thing's coming to an end. And let's just say, for example, the perfect world, the guy knows what's happening in the stock market. I'm not saying anybody does. I'm just saying, use this as a metaphor, right? So the guy's like, there's too much debt. There's this certain financial instrument is cratering now. And the last time he cratered was, '08 and 1929 and, whatever. Just, again, in a perfect video game world. And you might not like that information because all your money's in stocks, and you think, I just want to leave him there. I don't want to call my broker. It's a weekend. He's not available. They won't be able to sell. Maybe it's not true. The information might not be good. It might not make you happy, in other words. And same thing with, I've been in countries where there's kind of an uprising, like something going on. COVID's another one. I left Thailand just in time for their insane lockdowns. And it wasn't a happy thing, but I could see it coming. I'm like, nope, don't want to be stuck. Don't want to do this. I got out, and I'm glad I did. I'm super glad I did, actually. So, again, it's inconvenient, I guess. Okay? So, with that in mind, is that this is information that is good information for women and men. It's something that you want to know because it's something of our time. It's a movement of our time, okay? It's not just like a flash in the pan, a couple of YouTube channels. It really is a movement of our time, and it's a movement that has been building and growing for so long. Like the fundamentals of any big movement, they kind of grow for a long time, right? Things kind of pile up, and then finally there's a tipping point, and then you see the graph, a trend takes off, right? So what... As you guys know, like a lot of guys know, is that there is there's a disdain, okay, for the traditional relationship, right? There's been a disdain since as long as I've been alive, which is the 60s, right? So there's been kind of this looking down on what was historically the only model, right? It was the model that made us successful as a human, as a culture, as a species. And it was like a man and a woman living together and creating children, the man plowing the fields, the woman making food, taking care of the children, keeping the house warm, all that kind of stuff, right? There was a lot of work on the women's part, and there was a lot of work on the men's part, and also there was a lot of injuries on both. It was just a tough life. A lot of people talk about how tough it was for women, but it was just, nobody had it good. Even if you look at the King of England back a few hundred years, it was just, compared to now, it was bad. Like people just died at 19 of diseases. It was just like brutal. It was brutal. And that's evolution. That's evolution. That's the beautiful evolution. The dying off of the weak is what really created mankind to be the strongest, the ruler of the planet, right? It was that brutal, forces that we're basically subject to, right? So, so it was kind of necessary. I'm not blaming this on women. We needed each other in the old days. And honestly, we don't need each other anymore. Women don't need men, and men don't need women. It's not, you could choose it, but it's not something anybody really needs. Not in the way that we used to need. And that really is pretty fundamental. Okay, so when men no longer needed women and women no longer needed men, what happened? Okay, what would you say? I would say the first thing is that you saw women breaking vows. And that's even today. Most divorces, most broken families are women's doings. You can see this in the court filings. This is not like a hyperbole or anything. This is like absolute fact. In every country too. India, Japan, the US, women break up families, right? So why do they do that? Pretty much because they don't really need men anymore. A lot of guys, they like to read into this and make it all evil and everything. I think for men, the important thing is just to realize that they don't, right? It's simple. It's so simple. And for women too, like, it's kind of like when you have the opportunity to do something, you do it. Humans do, statistically. So don't blame yourselves too much. Like, it's just going to happen. Like, if you don't need a man anymore, one day you wake up and say, I don't fucking need this. I just don't need this. Whereas in the old days, you needed it. And it's the same reason why children are not that different as they used to be, is because children need parents to survive. Now, as soon as there's an option, as soon as there's another option for raising children, you'll see children leaving families. I guarantee you. The idea that a kid loves their parent, no. It's going to fall apart the minute there's another option. And so this option occurred that women didn't need men, right? Don't need it for food, don't need it for help, don't need it for money, don't need it to get children. Just plain old didn't no longer needed it. And then you see right after that, divorces just skyrocket, and they've continued. It's an absolute shit show. And the thing about divorce that a lot of guys don't know is that they don't really keep track of it. There's no like database for every divorce. So every time you look at a number, you hear a number of 70%. They just don't keep track of it. It's not convenient to the system to tell you the truth. I'm not saying like it's a conspiracy. I'm just saying there's no central database. You got to kind of put together all this information, and you never see like a true, what I would like to see is all divorces and marriages going into a database, right? I'd like to see, basically AI could look at it, right? Just basically big data, just like everything else. I'd like to see an honest, an ability to see the numbers. How long were they married, right? And if you really want to get down further, I'd like to see when they stopped sleeping together and when they moved out, because these are different things, right? There's a lot of couples that are divorced without being divorced, a lot. So it's not really, divorce itself is not, divorce is like really high. I mean, it's up there, way above 50. So, let's just say 70%, most countries, Western countries. And but again, that's really not a good number, because as you know, most marriages, at least from my own, what's the word? I know my own personal experience is a word for it. But anyway, is that most marriages are sexless, right? And people start sleeping apart, people stay together for the children. It's basically a sad hodgepodge of lies that most supposed marriages that are together live with, right? And all this stuff is putting pressure on those numbers, because you can't hide when someone's miserable. Like, it just comes out. Either it comes out in their own physical, getting sick and cancer and dying. It comes out in their drinking. It comes out in their risk-taking. It comes out in divorce. It really comes out. There's no way to cover up real things. Sometimes they're shown in different ways, right? So it's not just the divorce numbers. You have miserable marriages, supposedly marriages. But they're not really married. I mean, it's like a marriage is a man and woman together, living together. They have, it's a romantic relationship, right? So they're having physical relations and usually children. That's the whole purpose of marriage. So if those things aren't going on and the couple's able to have children, but they're not, again, right? So really today, essentially, it's all a farce. Like it's no longer real marriage in the West. So it's not just the divorce rate. It's the zombie marriages, right? Zombie marriages, the divorce rate. And then if you include on top of that, like how many men have false allegations against them, I think society is not even willing to talk about this one. But every single divorce case that I ever hear about, and I mean, I read about a lot of them, people send me stories, there's false allegations in that divorce. I don't know why they never include, like, when they talk about false allegations, they're always just criminal. But I think false allegations, if I allege that you stole something from me, right? If I tell all my friends, right? Just think about it, okay? So I don't go to the police, but let's just say I told everybody that you stole, something from me, right? Well, everybody that's my friend would believe it and would treat you differently, okay? So false allegations are not just in the system. They totally destroy your social structure and friends. And every single court case I've ever seen, custody case, women make false allegations against men. Everyone. He was drunk, he did this, and it's like, I don't even, drink, like, haven't drank since, XYZ year, and everybody knows it. Okay, so I guess those zombie marriages and zombie divorces, they're really, I guess if you're going to say like a pain level, it's really high. The pain level of false allegations. Again, it's usually filed by one person, right? And the false allegations are made by the person filing for divorce. And you have another person on the other end of the scale who's a loving person. They love their wife. That's why they're with them, right? And not only is she leaving him and you're having to go to court, which is just miserable. It's just become so miserable that I don't think single guys have any idea how painful divorce court is. Like, you just have no idea. Trust me. And it's any kind of family court is just incredibly painful right now. And guys don't know that. Young guys don't know that. So the thing is, guys are sitting around thinking that it's just like a divorce court, no big deal. It's a big fucking deal. It is. Men are just stoic about this. They sit there, they don't say anything, but they are in absolute pain, and guys taking the rope like crazy over this stuff. So this is the reality, right? Here's where we're at, right? Marriages end in divorce, most of them. And the ones that don't are even worse, because it's just like this kind of living with something. It's like working at a job and not getting paid, basically. You know, you used to get paid and now you don't anymore. And I've seen this in China, where a company will go bankrupt and people work there for like 6 months hoping they get paid, and they never do. And then when it ends, they're so furious. They burn the factory down and everything, because they were promised something, they were getting something, and then they kind of hoped they were going to come through. That's the kind of, like, you don't see Chinese workers burning down factories and kidnapping the management in cases of normal cases. But it's this where they think they're going to get paid. They're kind of promised they're going to get paid at some point, and they never get paid. And those workers, they go insane because it's so unfair. It's so fucking wrong, right? And that's the marriages we have now, is guys, you know, they had what they thought was a loving woman who loved them, and now they're locked in, and it's just like they're just wanting the old one back. They're waiting for the regular stuff to happen, and it never happens. And of course, there's different ways guys deal with this. Some guys blame themselves. You know, they might think their body's not good enough. They might think they didn't spend enough time with her. They might make some kind of spiritual reason about they made a bad choice. But the truth is just very simple, is that the girl doesn't need him, and there's nobody holding her accountable. Okay, just like a Chinese factory owned by a state-owned institution, they don't give a shit. Nothing's going to happen. They burn it down. They don't care. They're going to close it anyway. The big boss doesn't get hurt, right? And in this case, the big boss is the wife. Okay, so basically, we're talking about a sea of pain for men in the end of the day. That's essentially what men are in right now in the West. It's an ocean of pain. And everywhere you look, when it comes to relationships, it doesn't work out. Everything's a lie. Marriages don't work out. Men are not taught anything else. And this has been going on now pretty consistently in the West, at least since the 70s. So what has happened? How evolution. Guys finally realized that no matter how much they love a woman, which guys love women. You ever hear that song, When a Man Loves a Woman? It's not when a woman loves a man. It's when a man loves a fucking woman. Go listen to that song. He can't keep his mind on nothing else. You know, he just do anything. He'll lift the fucking earth. He'll move the earth with a lever. You know, like, when a man loves a woman, man, holy shit, the world's coming to an end. It's huge, right? And yet, that innocent desire, that innate human desire, is used to utterly destroy him and rob him. And it's more than that. It's not the money. It's really the gutting of his soul. And so guys are like, man, this just doesn't work. And I'll tell you something, there's a lot of loving sisters and mothers out these days who see this, and they love their son. They don't want him to go through this. So what's happening now? What is kind of the evolution? So again, you got the passport bros looking overseas for women, right? Now, this is demonized, okay? But I want to make an example that you'll understand. This is for women out there. So, for example, if you go to, let's say you go to Target and you want to buy something, right? You're looking for a certain glue. Now you look around and they don't have it, right? You ask everybody, you go to the glue section, it's not there. Now they say, well, maybe Home Depot has it. So you go down to Home Depot, they don't have it. And then you find out that Ace Hardware has it, right? So then you go down to Ace Hardware. That is really, there really is nothing to demonize about men on this one. Men are the victims of this huge shift in society. I mean, I don't like the word victim, but it's like guys are taking the rope. I mean, at some point you got to use the word, right? And so they're searching for answers, ways to be happy. So what do? They're like, man, nothing works here. They go from one store, it doesn't work, right? And the store in this case is a loving partner, right? They're looking for a loving partner that's going to raise their kids and do things that are absolutely healthy and normal. And they just can't find anybody that wants that. You know, I was just talking to a 29-year-old chick, and I said something about kids because some kids came by the house. And she's like, I don't want kids. I don't like kids. And I've heard that so much these days from women. It's incredible to me as a 59-year-old guy because I never heard that as a kid. I remember, just so you guys know how much has changed, when I was a kid, there was a book written by a German woman. I forget her name. But she wrote an honest book. I love honest women. They are so fucking valuable. She wrote an honest book, and she said she hates her children and her husband. And she wrote it anonymously. And that book resonated with a percentage of women. I don't remember what percentage it was, but it wasn't a large. But it was like, there was a lot of women who felt like they basically hated their own children, and they couldn't admit it. It was too painful. Society just wouldn't accept it. And just like an AA meeting or whatever, the women went to that book that were like that. And there was a contingent of women that just admitted, like online, and there was no online then. It was some kind of anonymous group they had. And it was like, yeah, like I feel so bad. Like I just basically don't like kids. And I thought I was going to change when I had kids. And there's a percentage of women, this is a warning to all men and women, is that some women not only don't have the nurturing instinct, but they like hate their kids. Like they would poison their kids if they could get away with it. They don't want them. It's like garbage to them. Keep in mind, this percentage of women exists. You got to know that. When you're getting that woman, and if she's not showing like that kind of motherly feeling. So that's why when I hear a girl, 29 years old, healthy, skinny, say that she doesn't want kids, I fucking believe it. Because I don't want my kids poisoned. It's a serious thing, guys. I'm dead serious right now. Some women hate children, okay? And it's so socially unacceptable that they can't say it. But this one German woman had the guts to write it in detail. I'm sure somebody can find the book. But that was a work of art, that book, because it really uncovered something that society doesn't want to believe. Society wants to think every woman is nurturing, every man is this, No, it's not true. It's not true. And as a man, you need to know the truth, right? But anyway, so let's see here. So anyway, we come to this situation where it's kind of all built up quietly. Men are very quiet. We don't make a lot of noise. I remember one time as a kid, I went to my cousin's house in Oregon, right? And we had this 72 Ford, and we opened the doors and we saw them and everybody ran in the car. And somebody, I think it was my sister, slammed the door. My hand was in the door. Like it was the 72 Ford and my hand was in the door. And it slammed on my hand. I cannot believe it didn't break all my fingers because that door was heavy. Anyway, it locked. They had pressed the lock button and I couldn't open it. And I was standing there with my hand locked into, like the whole hand locked into the door, smashed. And everybody went in the house. And then they were like, "Where's Paul?" And they look, and my hand's stuck in the door. Like I didn't make any noise or anything. I was just like, I was in so much pain I couldn't even talk. Then they came and unlocked my hand, right? It's like that's kind of the way guys are. We can endure some serious fucking pain without making any noise. I don't know how many men live their lives like this. Like cut your fingers off, you're just like, shit, It's like, I seen guys get maimed, man. They're just sitting there. Like sometimes you don't even know the guy's hurt. And then you look and there's fucking fingers, right? My friend that got his balls cut open on his bicycle, we were doing jumps at Moonland, I told you guys about. The rusty screw, he went over the handlebars, and his dad had welded on this screw for a light, but the light was gone. His mom had divorced him. He was a single mother. Anyway, there was still this rusty screw welded on the front of his bike, and it somehow ripped his shorts and caught his nutsack and ripped it open. And I got to see what a testicle looks like when it's hanging like by this. Looks like plastic, actually. It looks like a plastic tube goes down, and like a little hand of tubes goes into the ball. And then I took him home, on the back of my bike, over the bumps. That's all we had. There was no fucking cell phones, and we didn't know how to call an ambulance. We were like in junior high or elementary school. I never asked him how that affected his body, but I'm sure it wasn't very good. But anyway, like, he didn't say anything. He's just sitting there. He's like, oh, and I'm like, what's wrong? And then he didn't want to show me, and then I looked, and I'm like, oh my fucking God, you're going to fucking die, right? And we had no choice. He sat sideways on the back of the bike, and I rode him home. Down the hill, up the hill, got him to his house. His mom, I don't even know if she was home. She was always gone. I think he had to wait for her, actually. Fucking miserable, dude. He didn't say a fucking word. Never told me we never talked about it. Guys are fucking stoic, man. And what women don't understand, okay, here's really important for women to understand, is men are stoic. I know a lot of guys seem feminine now. Fuck that. They're still stoic. Guys are always going to be men. Okay, no matter if they're wearing a dress or whatever the fuck. Okay, now, think about the thing has built up. The pain has just increased. And men, again, they're not the ones they're not protesting, burning their bras or anything. Men are just sitting there going, shit. And, damn it, And then finally, somebody figures out a way. And men, the difference between men and women is women can be like, you can kind of placate a woman. You can like say, hey, I'm going to make this change. Here's this thing, right? Men are looking to solve the problem, right? So men basically have been in extreme pain, taken the rope. Guys seen their dads take the rope. Guys have just been gutted right and left, lied about. And now they're standing there and they're looking overseas and they see women that want to be wives, And it's like that store. You find this store where you see what you want now. Now, I recommend you don't run over there and get a wife. I really recommend it. And I will say this little pitch here is if anybody is going to be a passport bro, going to go overseas, and you're even thinking about dating, you should fucking join my coaching. It will pay off 1,000 times. Don't go by yourself. Oh my God. Don't come to me after you got the problem. Do it before. Anyway, that's what's driving. So that's the passport bros. And men, when they make a decision, this is the scary thing about society, is that men wait. And when they make a decision, just like a guy charging a hill, in a battle, that's it. A man has made a decision. Men have made a decision that it's not worth it here. And the guys that haven't made that decision, believe me, most of them are going to wake up because it's true. And when you hear the truth, it's like, thank God for the fucking truth. And guys have been waiting for something. So they're just like, fuck this shit. Now I want to just give you a little idea of what the difference is, okay? A lot of guys will say women overseas don't need money, they are skinny and they're more feminine. I will just give you guys a hint. I'll do another future video on this about the difference, because it's not just the woman. It's not just a woman. Okay, that woman eats food. Food overseas is more real, okay? It's more natural, it's more real. They still eat real food. We've been brainwashed here, eating chemicals and bullshit that's causing cancer and people are dying and getting fat. They're not doing that overseas. So it's not just the woman. You're going into a new ecosystem, okay, where people eat real food, okay? They eat oranges. They eat spaghetti. They eat spinach. They eat garlic. They make sweet potatoes for dessert. They eat food, okay? Real food. So when you go overseas and you find a woman in these traditional cultures, they don't even know about eating crap. They know theoretically about it, but they really don't. It's comfort food for them, real food. They like to make soup. They like to eat healthy things. That's what they fucking raised on. It's all they know. So when you go there, you lose weight, you get in better shape, you have less chance of cancer. Like a lot of things go right for you as soon as you start eating good food. That's one thing. Second thing, families are broken here. So when you date a chick here, okay, so you date a chick and then you go to her house to meet her quote unquote family. What the fuck is that these days? It's a hodgepodge of fucking shit, basically. Got the dad's gone, the mom's there trying to act like a dad. The kids don't respect. I mean, it's a fucking nightmare. And the woman's just planning on divorcing you anyway. She's got like a temporary plan. I'm going to marry this guy for a couple of years, have some kids, and then I'll just, I have my own right to change. I'm going to go do my own thing. That's what women's plan is for these days. One guy to have the kid with, someone else to raise, whatever. It's not to be your wife, okay? So when you go overseas, what happens? Again, it's not all women. It's not all the difference. Like women, you can't change some things. Like I'll tell you about one of my girlfriends, Calorie. She said wanted to introduce me to her mother and dad. So we go to her house. Her sister's there. Her sister's super nice to me because she heard a lot of good things about me. She greets me at the door smiling and this and that. I heard about you, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And I come in the house. Mother's got a fucking apron on, serious. Calorie's mother always wore an apron. She's all smiles. She's like, dinner's going to be ready in a few minutes. Why don't you sit down, watch some TV? I sit down. The dad's there. He's super cool. He's like, he always liked me, this guy. He was like, from the minute we met, we got along. He was just great. Not all Japanese dads are like that, but he was fucking great. He was like awesome. We always had a good time. He didn't speak English, but we spoke Japanese. But still, he was awesome. I look forward to meeting him. And in fact, when we broke up, I kind of missed hanging out with the family. Because it was you're going into something that some people have never even been part of. A real family. Not perfect, but a fucking loving family. They care about their children and stay together and eat good food. Just that alone. Live together. And they're not making do. They're married. It's normal. They're just doing the normal thing like dogs go outside and take a shit, right? That's what they lift their leg and they take a pee, right? It's very normal, and that's what they're doing. And if you're from a broken family, you're going to be like, this is my new family. I swear to God, it's an awesome thing to be part of. And again, especially if you haven't had it, a lot of times I've seen guys overseas like really get tight with the girl's family. And that helps you too, by the way, when you have problems in the marriage, because the family comes to the rescue. American family, and again, girls can't control this, but they need to understand this, is most of them have nothing to offer. There's no cakes made. You don't come over and get a little present and dinner and a smile and all this shit. And like, oh, I heard you climb Mount Fuji. Oh, how was that? They don't get that. They come over. It's like, who is this guy? What is his fucking background? Like, it's like you just get treated like a fucking, I don't know. The family is nothing. There's no family. It's just sadness in a lot of American homes. So the girl's trying to get out. Like a girl, they used to get out of small towns, like an officer and a gentleman, right? She tricks him and gets pregnant to get out of her town, right? That's kind of what some women are doing. They're just getting out of their fucking miserable situations. And you're the way out of that miserable situation, right? Marriage, a new house. And then as soon as they fucking, comfortable again, they got the money, it's fine, leave you, right? So I want to tell you guys that this is not going to change girls. This is just beginning. Guys are discovering that life is better with these other women because the way they're raised, because the families they have, because the traditional cultures are raised in, because of the food they eat, because of the way they think. That's the most important thing. They think differently because they were raised differently. You ever seen a kid who was raised in a war zone? That kid will never be normal, ever. You know what I mean? A kid carrying an AK-47 at 12, that fucking kid is cold-blooded, man. The way we're raised affects us, even though we don't admit it, even though we don't like it. So when you go back into traditional culture, you are kind of being, I don't want to make it sound too good, but you're kind of being welcomed back into the human race, really. And for guys, it's not just one family. Again, it's other families. It's very, very, guys are traditional. Guys love this shit. For girls that are here, like if you want to get a guy that's a good guy, that, again, the best guys are being passport pros first. That's another thing I will say. I'll end on this, and I think this is very, very important for women to understand. I have a channel for men. Guys come to me wanting advice. And I'll tell you, most of the guys I talk to have money, they're successful, and they're good looking. I swear to God. They might have a couple extra pounds, 15, 20 pounds, but they're good looking, and they want more out of life. They're the smart guys. The dumb guys are not doing it. If you go on the street corner, the guys in the hoodies, the guys that are fucking making... Those are not the guys being passport bros. These are the guys from fucking Ivy League schools, smart dudes. And they're like, I really want to try this overseas, These are the first guys coming. That should scare the shit out of you if you're a woman. And I'm telling you the truth. You can watch all the videos you want. I don't know how many followers on Ronin Man, but guys come to me. Guys coming to me for advice. And I will tell you, most of them either have a lot of Bitcoin, they have a good job, they're programmers, they are not losers. I know it's easy to think that. It's comfortable to think that. But the guillotine is coming down. This is a trend that is not going to stop. It's going to affect you and your children. And men are just like, yeah, I'll be in the West. I'll earn money. But it's hands off with the women. You know what I mean? I'll wait till I'm overseas to date. That's basically what guys are doing now. And again, it is an intelligent decision. That's an important thing to know for women. Is that these are intelligent guys making smart choices. You need to really offer something in order to beat this combo of things. And you can. I've seen Western women do it. I know in Tokyo, a couple girls, man, they came to Japan. They were really pissed off when they saw the dating scene and nobody really wanted them. But I know some women, some of my good friends actually, female, and they realized, first they were bickering, they were bitter, the Japanese girls are just doing this and this and this. And there was a point when I saw the light come on and they thought, I got to be more feminine. Like, I got to change. And I saw these girls become feminine. I saw it. I've seen it happen in my own eyes. I tell you it can happen. And they become like sweet housewives types. I swear to God, I've seen it. In Japan, Tokyo can do this because the girls are so feminine. They're so fucking relentless because there's millions of them every day coming by. It wears a girl down. Part of the reason why feminism is like surviving here is because they're getting backed up by their neighbors, by their friends, by the media. Over there, it's the opposite. Everywhere they turn, there's like a feminine girl like who doesn't give a shit that they're this and that, and they're just like, yeah, whatever, I'll just take your man. That's fine, And the chicks are finally like, the smart ones are like, shit, this is what men like. I can't blame them. Like, no wonder. I knew this all along. They're like, fuck. And then you see them, especially the young ones, the ones that are still in their 20s. I've seen them change and become little kitty catties. And they can be quite sweet, actually. A Western girl who's a kitty catty can be pretty fucking good, I tell you. Because she's got everything. She's got that. And then she's also got some good things from the West. There's a lot of good... The West didn't rise up for no fucking reason, right? There was a lot of good ideas here. So if you got that combo, that's a pretty sweet combo, actually. Pretty rare, but it does exist. So anyway, I wanted to let you guys know that this is what's happening. And it's kind of the tipping point, here in 2024, where regular guys are starting to do this. And again, we will see this grow. We will see this grow. Just like Islam grows in countries, once it goes past 15%, it becomes a trend and it never goes away. That's what trends are. Once they reach 15% of the population. And I tell you something, MGTOW and this whole movement, Passport Bros, it's getting up there. You're seeing guys on TV who don't even know they're parroting talking points from my channel and other channels like mine, because it's becoming part of the zeitgeist, part of the human belief system, part of the current body of knowledge. So it's not even what they call themselves. A lot of them don't even know where the ideas came from, but they realize they're true, right? And so that's what we got going on, guys, is that it's really time to saddle up and be one of the early movers. The first guys who got to the California in the gold rush, a guy found like a 45-pound piece of chunk of gold in the bottom of a waterfall, uncovered, when he got to California. That's how the gold rush started. They just found fucking gold, right? And then later it got harder and harder and harder. That's what's going to happen to this trend too. The first guys are going to get the best experiences and the best, everything that they want, right? And again, that's their life. Right? And then later it'll get harder and harder and harder. So for you guys that this makes sense to, start thinking about it. Start thinking about whether you want to date or not. Start thinking about the difference in your humanity, the way that you live. How do you want to live? Who do you want to live around? Who do you want to talk to? What do you want to do with your life, right? Start thinking about stuff like that and take a trip overseas. Come to a summit. Come to one of the summits overseas, especially Asia. Come to one of the Asian summits. I'm telling you, it'll open your mind. It will open your mind. You will have a great time. I promise you that. No matter what, you're going to have a great time. Okay, that's just a bare minimum. You're going to have a great time. And there's a lot of, as they say in Japanese, prasu alpha. There's funny words that they use in English in Japan, It's like there's plenty of added on benefits. So anyway, that's about it. I'm going to start posting the summit videos I think I'm going to start backwards. I'm going to start with the closing meeting I'll post. But I wanted to give a shout out to the guys here. And thank you for coming to Summit. Thank you for making it awesome. And thank you for listening.